Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. The 1991 United States 1 cent coin is one of those coins that most people have seen, touched, spent, and completely ignored. Yet behind its small copper-colored surface lies a story that stretches across American history: economic change, minting technology, rare errors, collector obsession, and shocking market rumors that have pushed some examples of this ordinary-looking penny into discussions of extraordinary wealth, sometimes whispered in collecting circles, with figures that climb into the hundreds of millions of dollars when condition, rarity, and historical timing collide in just the right way. When you hold a 1991 1 cent coin in your hand, it feels light, simple, almost meaningless, yet its weight, composition, design, and mint identity all connect it to a turning point in U.S. coinage history. A moment when copper was becoming expensive, production costs were under scrutiny, and the humble penny was slowly transforming from a daily necessity into a collectible artifact. The official weight of the 1991 1 cent coin is 2.5 grams, and that number alone tells a powerful story. By 1991, the United States Mint had already shifted away from the heavy, solid copper pennies of earlier decades. Instead, the coin was made of a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper, a change that began in 1982 and continued through 1991. This composition was approximately 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper, yet visually it still carried the warm copper tone that Americans had trusted for generations. That thin copper coating is one of the reasons why high-grade 1991 pennies are so difficult to find today, because over time the coating can blister, peel, or corrode, dramatically reducing survivability in perfect condition. The diameter of the 1991 penny is 19.05 millimeters, and its thickness is about 1.52 millimeters. Small measurements that hide enormous production numbers. In 1991, hundreds of millions of pennies were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver, with no mint mark indicating Philadelphia and a small D mint mark identifying Denver issues. Each of those tiny letters carries massive importance in the collector market because mint location effects strike quality, die wear, error frequency, and long-term scarcity in top condition. The obverse design of the 1991 1 cent coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1991, this portrait had become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history. Lincoln faces to the right, his expression calm, serious, and timeless, a visual reminder of unity, endurance, and leadership. Above his head appears the word liberty, while the phrase "I in God we trust" arches along the top rim. The date 1991 sits to the right of Lincoln's portrait, and if present, the mint mark appears just below the date, a tiny letter with massive financial consequences. The reverse design of the 1991 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. The memorial stands tall and symmetrical, with the words United States of America across the top and 1 cent along the bottom. Inside the memorial, if you look closely, you can actually see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated within, a detail so small that many people never notice it, yet it adds to the artistic and historical complexity of the coin. Above the memorial appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a phrase deeply connected to American identity and especially meaningful during the early 1990s, a period of global change and domestic transition. The coin symbol for the 1 cent piece is commonly represented by the cent sign, a C, with a vertical line. Though in formal numismatic contexts, it is simply referred to as the cent or penny. While the symbol itself is rarely stamped on the coin, the concept of the cent represents the foundation of American currency, the smallest unit, the starting point, and in many ways the most democratic coin of all. In 1991, the United States was experiencing economic shifts, technological growth, and changing consumer behavior. Cash was still king, vending machines relied on pennies, and children still counted change by hand. The penny was not yet the controversial coin it would later become. The mint produced massive quantities, yet quality control varied, and that variation is exactly where rarity is born. Errors occurred, dies cracked, planchets misaligned, and presses struck coins with subtle differences that today can separate a common 1 cent coin from a specimen worth thousands, millions, or, in extreme theoretical cases involving legendary provenance and perfect preservation, values whispered to approach figures as high as $241 million. In private collector lore point, one of the most important factors in the value of a 1991 penny is condition. A circulated example, worn from years of use, is usually worth only face value. However, an uncirculated coin, especially one graded at the highest levels such as MS 67, MS 68, or higher, becomes dramatically rarer. Because zinc-based pennies are extremely sensitive to environmental damage, finding a flawless 1991 penny with full original luster, no spotting, no carbon marks, no plating bubbles, and razor-sharp strike detail is incredibly difficult. Each step up the grading scale multiplies the value, sometimes exponentially. Then there are errors, and this is where the 1991 penny truly becomes exciting. Off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center, can command significant premiums. Double die errors, where the design appears doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process, are among the most sought-after varieties. A strong double die on Lincoln's date, lettering, or portrait can turn a simple penny into a collector's dream. Broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without a collar and spreads wider than normal, also attract attention, especially when combined with clean surfaces and high grade. Another fascinating category is transitional and composition errors. While 1991 pennies are supposed to be zinc-based, rumors and isolated reports have circulated within the hobby about extremely rare off-metal strikes, where a coin may have been struck on an incorrect planchet. If a genuine 1991 penny were ever authenticated as being struck on a solid copper planchet or another unintended metal, its value could enter a realm almost beyond traditional price guides, especially if paired with perfect condition and historic documentation. As collectors look deeper into the 1991 1-cent coin, one of the most fascinating realities begins to emerge, and that is the enormous difference between how many were minted and how few truly survive in pristine condition today. While hundreds of millions of 1991 pennies were produced, the overwhelming majority entered circulation immediately, passing through countless hands, pockets, registers, vending machines, and coin jars. Each moment of circulation introduced microscopic damage, tiny scratches, dulling of luster, and exposure to moisture and chemicals that slowly degraded the fragile copper plating over the zinc core. Over time, these effects dramatically reduced the number of examples that could ever qualify as top-tier collectibles, creating an invisible funnel where mass production narrowed down to extreme rarity at the highest levels. The Denver Mint played a major role in 1991 production, and the 1991 D penny is one of the most closely studied varieties by specialists. Denver coins often show strong strikes, but they are also known for specific die characteristics that can help identify rare varieties. Certain 1991 D pennies exhibit die cracks that run through Lincoln's portrait or across the lettering, subtle raised lines formed when a die begins to fail. While small die cracks are common, dramatic cracks that significantly alter the design can elevate a coin's desirability. Some collectors actively hunt for progressive die states, where a crack grows more severe across multiple strikes, turning an ordinary penny into a documented sequence of minting history. A Philadelphia minted 1991 pennies, lacking a mint mark, have their own appeal. Because of the sheer volume produced, most collectors assume they are common, but this assumption hides an important truth. Philadelphia strikes often show weaker detail compared to Denver, and finding a sharply struck Philadelphia 1991 penny with full design definition, blazing luster, and clean surfaces is extraordinarily difficult. When such a coin appears and receives a high certification grade, it can shatter expectations and command prices far beyond what casual observers believe possible for a modern penny. Another layer of value lies in strike anomalies that occurred during high-speed minting. In 1991, presses were operating at tremendous speeds, and even minor mechanical inconsistencies could produce dramatic results. Misaligned dies created off-center coins where part of the design is missing, yet the date remains visible, a key factor in value. Some off-center 1991 pennies have been discovered with dramatic shifts, creating visually striking pieces that instantly capture collector attention. The greater the off-center percentage, the higher the value, especially when the coin remains in uncirculated condition. Double-struck pennies are another thrilling category. These occur when a coin is struck more than once, sometimes with rotation between strikes, resulting in overlapping images. A 1991 penny with a dramatic double strike can look almost surreal, as if time itself slipped during minting. When such coins are authenticated and preserved in high grade, they become centerpieces in error collections and can command extraordinary premiums. One of the most talked about error types in the modern penny series is the doubled die. A genuine doubled die on a 1991 penny is not merely machine doubling, which is common and less valuable, but a true hub doubling where the design itself was doubled during die creation. When strong doubling appears on Lincoln's eye, beard, date, or lettering like Liberty or I in God We Trust, the coin enters an entirely different category of desirability. Such examples are rare, and when paired with minimal wear and strong eye appeal, they can bring staggering prices, especially as registry set collectors compete to own the finest known example. The zinc core of the 1991 penny introduces unique challenges and opportunities. Zinc reacts aggressively to moisture and contaminants, leading to corrosion that can destroy a coin from the inside out. This means that many coins that appear acceptable on the surface are actually compromised beneath the copper plating. As a result, fully original, undamaged examples are much scarcer than mintages alone would suggest. This scarcity fuels collector demand and pushes values upward at the top end of the grading scale. Color also plays a critical role in valuation. Pennies are classified by color as red, red-brown, or brown. A fully red 1991 penny with original mint luster is far rarer than a red-brown or brown example, especially after decades of exposure. Red coins retain that bright copper sheen that fades quickly once a coin leaves mint storage. A 1991 penny that remains fully red today is a survivor in the truest sense, and collectors pay substantial premiums for that survival. The psychology of collecting cannot be ignored when discussing values that climb into extreme territory. In elite numismatic circles, ownership of the finest known example of a given coin carries prestige beyond simple monetary worth. If a single 1991 penny were recognized as the absolute finest example known, especially if it possessed a dramatic error or unique characteristic, its value would be driven not just by metal or rarity, but by competition among high-end collectors who seek exclusivity. In such an environment, valuations can escalate rapidly, sometimes reaching theoretical figures that defy everyday logic, including legendary numbers like $241 million, which symbolize ultimate uniqueness rather than a routine auction result. The historical context of 1991 adds another dimension. This was a year of global transformation, with the Cold War ending, technology accelerating, and economies shifting. Coins minted during this period represent a bridge between eras, and future collectors often look back on such transitional years with heightened interest. The 1991 penny stands as a physical artifact of that moment, linking the early 20th century Lincoln design tradition with the approaching changes of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Storage and preservation further separate ordinary coins from extraordinary ones. A 1991 penny that was immediately set aside in a protective environment, away from air, moisture, and handling, has a vastly higher chance of surviving in collectible condition. Many of the highest-grade examples known today likely spent decades untouched in mint sets, original rolls, or private collections, shielded from the destructive forces that consumed millions of others. As the market evolves, modern collectors are increasingly drawn to condition rarity rather than sheer age. This shift has propelled modern-era coins like the 1991 penny into the spotlight. When population reports show only a handful of coins graded at the very top levels, demand can surge dramatically. Each new record price reinforces the idea that even a recent coin can be a treasure, fueling speculation, excitement, and sometimes breathtaking valuations. As time moves forward, the fascination with the 1991 1-cent coin only intensifies because collectors begin to realize that value is not frozen in time, but constantly reshaped by demand, discovery, and the stories attached to individual coins. Every certified example, every newly discovered error, and every private sale adds another layer to the evolving market perception. In this way, the 1991 penny becomes more than a mass-produced object. It becomes a living participant in the numismatic ecosystem, responding to attention, rarity, and imagination. One of the most compelling aspects of the 1991 penny is how subtle differences can create massive gaps in value. Two coins minted on the same day, from the same press, can end up on opposite ends of the value spectrum decades later. One might circulate immediately, collecting wear and damage until it is eventually lost or destroyed, while the other might be saved, forgotten in a drawer, and rediscovered years later in near-perfect condition. This divergence highlights how chance plays a crucial role in numismatics, transforming everyday objects into extraordinary artifacts. Collectors often use magnification to examine the smallest details on a 1991 penny, looking for clues that set one coin apart from millions of others. The texture of Lincoln's hair, the sharpness of the beard, the clarity of the lettering, and the strength of the memorial's columns all reveal information about the quality of the strike and the condition of the dies at the moment the coin was produced. Sharp, well-defined features indicate a fresh die and careful striking, traits that are highly prized and increasingly rare. The edge of the 1991 penny is plain, without reeds, yet even this simple feature can tell a story. A smooth, even edge suggests proper collar alignment during striking, while distortions or irregularities can point to errors such as broad strikes or partial collar strikes. These edge-related errors often go unnoticed by casual observers, but are eagerly sought by specialists who understand their significance. Another intriguing area of study is planchet quality. Zinc planchets used in 1991 were produced in massive quantities, and minor imperfections were inevitable. Lamination errors, where layers of metal separate or peel away, can occur when impurities are trapped during manufacturing. A 1991 penny with a dramatic lamination flaw can appear as if the coin is shedding its skin, revealing the fragile zinc beneath the copper coating. Such coins are visually striking and can command high prices, especially when the flaw does not compromise the coin's overall eye appeal. Clip planchets represent another class of valuable errors. These occur when a blank is improperly cut from the metal strip, leaving a curved or straight section missing from the coin. A 1991 penny with a clear, unaltered clip that shows the characteristic metal flow at the edge is considered a genuine mint error and is highly collectible. The size and shape of the clip play a significant role in determining value, with larger, more dramatic clips being especially desirable. Die clashes add yet another layer of intrigue. When dies strike each other without a planchet in between, elements of one design can transfer to the other. On a 1991 penny, this might result in ghostly outlines of the memorial appearing on Lincoln's portrait or vice versa. These clashes create surreal images that blur the boundaries between obverse and reverse, captivating collectors who appreciate the mechanical drama behind their creation. Over time, certain 1991 penny varieties become recognized and cataloged, giving them official status within the numismatic community. Once a variety is documented, demand often increases as collectors rush to find examples before prices rise further. This process can transform an overlooked coin into a hot commodity almost overnight, driven by knowledge, communication, and the collective enthusiasm of the hobby. The grading process itself plays a crucial role in shaping the market. Third-party grading services evaluate coins based on strict standards, assigning numerical grades that reflect condition and quality. A single-point difference at the high end of the scale can mean the difference between a coin worth hundreds and one worth thousands or more. For the 1991 penny, achieving the highest grades is exceptionally challenging due to the delicate copper plating and susceptibility to spotting. As a result, coins that break into the uppermost grade tiers often become instant stars. Population reports provide another lens through which value is determined. When collectors see that only a handful of 1991 pennies have been graded at a certain level, competition intensifies. Each appearance at auction becomes a high-stakes event, with bidders driven not just by financial considerations, but by the desire to secure a place in numismatic history. In these moments, prices can surge dramatically, sometimes exceeding all expectations. The concept of provenance further amplifies value. A 1991 penny with a documented history, such as being part of a famous collection or discovered in a remarkable context, gains an aura that transcends its physical characteristics. Stories matter, and in the world of rare coins, a compelling narrative can elevate a coin into legendary status. This is where valuations can reach astonishing figures, as collectors are willing to pay a premium for ownership of a piece with recognized significance. Speculation also plays a role in driving attention to the 1991 penny. As collectors and investors search for the next breakout coin, modern issues with condition rarity become attractive targets. The penny, once dismissed as too common to matter, begins to re-emerge as a serious collectible, especially when tied to iconic designs like Lincoln and historically resonant years like 1991. The idea of a 1991 penny reaching values discussed in the realm of hundreds of millions of dollars may sound extreme, but within elite collecting circles, such numbers often represent theoretical ceilings rather than everyday market prices. They symbolize the ultimate convergence of rarity, condition, error, provenance, and demand. In this sense, the figure of $241 million becomes a benchmark for what could be possible under the most extraordinary circumstances, not a promise, but a testament to the power of numismatic storytelling. And still, the search continues. Collectors examine rolls, mint sets, and inherited collections, driven by the hope that somewhere, somehow, an extraordinary 1991 penny is waiting to be discovered. Each coin examined is a small act of faith, a belief that history, chance, and value can align in the palm of one's hand, transforming an ordinary cent into an object of wonder and wealth. As the journey into the 1991 1-cent coin continues, attention begins to shift toward how modern collecting habits and global markets have reshaped the perception of value. In earlier decades, pennies were largely ignored by serious investors, but as traditional assets fluctuate and collectors search for alternative stores of value, even the smallest denominations have gained renewed attention. The 1991 penny, positioned at the edge of the modern era yet old enough to carry historical weight, benefits directly from this changing mindset point. One of the most important influences on value is the rise of registry set collecting. In this competitive format, collectors strive to assemble the highest graded examples of specific coin series. For the Lincoln Cent series, demand for top population coins is intense. When a 1991 penny becomes the finest known example at a major grading service, it instantly gains elite status. Other collectors attempting to climb the registry rankings may be willing to pay astonishing sums to secure such a coin, not only for ownership, but for recognition within the numismatic community. Auction dynamics also play a critical role. When two or more determined bidders compete for a rare 1991 penny, prices can escalate rapidly. Emotional bidding, driven by pride, rivalry, and fear of missing out, often pushes final results far beyond estimated values. These moments create headlines, redefine price expectations, and reinforce the idea that even a modern penny can command extraordinary attention when the right conditions align. Another fascinating factor is the gradual decline of the penny's role in everyday commerce. As digital payments increase and discussions about eliminating the penny continue, the coin's future becomes uncertain. This uncertainty paradoxically enhances collectability. Coins that represent a fading or discontinued tradition often gain sentimental and historical appeal. The 1991 penny, firmly rooted in the era when cash transactions were dominant, becomes a tangible reminder of a time that feels increasingly distant. International interest further expands the market. Collectors outside the United States often seek iconic American coins, and the Lincoln Cent is among the most recognizable. A high-grade or rare 1991 penny can attract global bidders, adding pressure to an already competitive market. When international demand intersects with limited supply, values can climb dramatically, sometimes entering levels that surprise even seasoned collectors. Technological advances in authentication and grading have also influenced the perception of rarity. High-resolution imaging, detailed population reports, and digital databases allow collectors to track known examples with unprecedented precision. This transparency reveals just how scarce top-tier 1991 pennies truly are, reinforcing their desirability. At the same time, improved detection methods help distinguish genuine errors from altered coins, protecting the integrity of the market and increasing confidence among buyers. The role of education cannot be overlooked. As more collectors learn how to identify valuable varieties and errors, interest in searching through ordinary-looking coins grows. This grassroots exploration keeps the story of the 1991 penny alive, ensuring that new discoveries continue to emerge. Each discovery reignites excitement, reminding the community that rarity is not always locked away in museums, but can sometimes be found in unexpected places. Another layer of intrigue lies in mint sets. Official U.S. mint sets from 1991 preserve coins in controlled environments, significantly increasing the likelihood of high-grade survivors. However, even within mint sets, spotting, toning, and environmental factors can still affect condition. A flawless coin emerging from a sealed mint set decades later is a remarkable event, often resulting in immediate certification and strong market interest. The aesthetics of toning also play a role in value. While many collectors prefer bright red pennies, others appreciate natural toning that creates rich hues of orange, gold, and even subtle violet. When toning is attractive and original, it can enhance eye appeal and make a coin stand out. A beautifully toned 1991 penny with strong strike and minimal marks can achieve premium prices, even if it does not reach the absolute highest numerical grade. The narrative surrounding extreme valuations continues to evolve as well. Figures like $241 million serve as symbolic milestones, representing the ultimate expression of rarity and desire. These numbers capture the imagination, drawing new collectors into the hobby and encouraging deeper exploration. Whether or not such valuations are ever realized, their presence underscores the belief that numismatics is about more than metal. It is about history, art, competition, and human fascination. Private sales add another dimension of mystery. Unlike public auctions, private transactions often occur quietly, with prices undisclosed. Rumors of high-value private deals circulate within collecting circles, fueling speculation and curiosity. A 1991 penny with extraordinary qualities could theoretically change hands in such a context, its value known only to those directly involved, further enhancing its mystique. The emotional connection collectors feel toward the Lincoln Cent series also contributes to sustained interest. Many collectors began their journey with pennies, searching through change as children. The 1991 penny, familiar yet overlooked, taps into that nostalgia. Owning an exceptional example becomes a way of reconnecting with personal history while participating in a sophisticated and competitive market. As all these factors converge, the 1991 1-cent coin stands as a powerful example of how value is created through a combination of scarcity, condition, demand, and narrative. What was once dismissed as pocket change now commands respect and fascination. And still, the story continues, unfolding with each new discovery, each new auction, and each collector who dares to look closely at a simple penny and imagine the extraordinary possibilities it may hold. As awareness of the 1991 1-cent coin grows, another powerful force begins to shape its legacy, and that is generational change. Collectors who grew up in the late 1980s and early 1990s are now reaching an age where disposable income, nostalgia, and deeper historical curiosity converge. For many of them, the 1991 penny is not an abstract relic but a familiar object from childhood, a coin they once carried unknowingly in their pockets. This emotional connection drives demand in a way that traditional price guides cannot fully capture. The transition from copper to zinc in earlier years also casts a long shadow over the 1991 penny. While it is officially a zinc-based coin, it exists in a period when memories of solid copper pennies were still fresh. This contrast heightens interest, especially when collectors encounter unusual weight variations that prompt further investigation. Even a slight deviation from the standard 2.5 grams can raise questions and spark excitement, leading to professional testing and, in rare cases, groundbreaking discoveries. Scientific analysis has become an increasingly important tool in modern numismatics. Advanced techniques such as X-ray fluorescence testing allow experts to analyze metal composition without damaging the coin. If a 1991 penny were ever confirmed to have an anomalous composition, such as a significantly higher copper content or an unintended alloy, it would represent a major numismatic event. The implications for value would be profound, potentially placing such a coin among the most famous modern mint errors ever discovered. The role of documentation cannot be overstated. A 1991 penny accompanied by thorough documentation, including certification records, provenance history, and scientific analysis, gains credibility and market confidence. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for certainty, especially when dealing with coins that challenge conventional expectations. Documentation transforms speculation into recognized rarity, unlocking higher tiers of value. Market cycles also influence how coins like the 1991 penny are perceived. During periods of economic uncertainty, tangible assets often attract increased attention. Coins, with their blend of intrinsic and historical value, appeal to those seeking diversification. While a penny may seem insignificant compared to gold or silver, its rarity and narrative can make it a compelling alternative investment, particularly at the highest levels of quality. Social media and online platforms have further amplified interest. Videos, forums, and collector communities share discoveries instantly, spreading awareness at an unprecedented pace. A single viral post featuring a rare 1991 penny can trigger a surge of interest, prompting thousands of people to re-examine their own collections. This collective activity keeps the market dynamic and constantly evolving. The concept of scarcity becomes even more striking when viewed through the lens of attrition. Every year, countless pennies are lost, damaged, or destroyed. Zinc-based coins are especially vulnerable, and over time, the population of surviving high-quality examples continues to shrink. This gradual loss enhances the relative rarity of well-preserved 1991 pennies, reinforcing their long-term appeal. Another intriguing aspect is the comparison between different years within the Lincoln Cent series. Collectors often build sets that span decades, and subtle differences in availability and condition can elevate certain dates. The 1991 penny, with its massive mintage yet limited top-grade survivors, occupies a unique position. It challenges assumptions about what constitutes rarity, demonstrating that condition can be just as important as age. The allure of the ultimate discovery remains ever present. Stories circulate of collectors finding rare coins in unexpected places, from old jars to estate sales. These narratives fuel hope and persistence, encouraging people to keep searching. The idea that a 1991 penny worth a life-changing sum could still be out there captures the imagination and keeps the hobby alive as discussions of extreme valuations continue. The symbolic figure of $241 million stands as a representation of possibility rather than probability. It reflects the belief that under the most extraordinary circumstances, value can transcend traditional boundaries. Whether realized or not, such figures inspire curiosity and ambition, drawing attention to coins that might otherwise be overlooked. Educational outreach by numismatic organizations also plays a role in shaping future interest. As more people learn about grading, errors, and preservation, appreciation for modern coins deepens. The 1991 penny benefits from this increased literacy, as collectors become better equipped to recognize its potential significance. The interplay between history and modernity defines the enduring appeal of the 1991 1-cent coin. It is a product of advanced minting technology, yet it carries a design rooted in over a century of tradition. This duality resonates with collectors who appreciate both innovation and continuity. And as time continues its steady march forward, the 1991 penny remains a silent witness to change, waiting patiently in collections, drawers, and albums. Each coin holds the potential to tell a story of survival, discovery, and transformation. What began as a simple unit of currency evolves into a symbol of how even the smallest objects can carry immense meaning and, under the right circumstances, unimaginable value. As the story of the 1991 1-cent coin reaches its final moments, what becomes most clear is that this small piece of metal represents far more than its size or denomination ever suggests. It is a reminder that value is not always obvious, that history often hides in plain sight, and that the ordinary can become extraordinary when viewed through the lens of time, rarity, and human fascination. The 1991 penny began its life as a simple unit of commerce, passed from hand to hand without ceremony. Yet decades later it stands as a symbol of how perspective can transform meaning. Every detail of the coin, from its 2.5-gram weight to its thin copper coating over a zinc core, tells a story of efficiency, economics, and transition. It reflects a period when the United States Mint was adapting to rising material costs while maintaining tradition and trust in its currency. The familiar image of Abraham Lincoln, calm and resolute, connects the coin to a legacy stretching back to 1909, while the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse anchors it firmly in the mid to late 20th century, creating a bridge between generations. The true magic of the 1991 penny lies not in the millions that were made, but in the few that survived against the odds. Coins that avoided circulation, environmental damage, corrosion, and mishandling became silent survivors. Among them, even fewer retained full red color, sharp strikes, flawless surfaces, and original luster. These rare survivors defy statistics, standing as proof that rarity is often born not at the mint, but through survival. Errors elevate this story even further. Misstrikes, double dies, off-center coins, planchet flaws, die clashes, and composition anomalies all represent moments when the minting process briefly broke its perfect rhythm. These moments of imperfection created coins that are now prized precisely because they are different. Each error is a fingerprint of the mint at work, a frozen second in time that cannot be replicated. Market value follows emotion as much as logic. A common circulated 1991 penny may still be worth only 1 cent, yet a flawless or extraordinary example can leap across categories into a completely different financial universe. Auction results, registry competition, private sales, and collector rivalry all push boundaries, redefining what is possible. In that environment, legendary figures like $241 million emerge not as everyday expectations, but as symbols of ultimate rarity, ambition, and belief in what a single coin can represent at the highest level. The future of the penny itself adds another layer of significance. As conversations about eliminating the 1-cent coin continue, each surviving penny becomes a relic of a fading system. The 1991 penny captures a time when cash ruled daily life, when change jingled in pockets, and when small coins mattered. As the world moves toward digital transactions, physical coins gain historical weight, and their stories become more valuable. Collectors, investors, historians, and everyday people all meet at this coin from different paths. Some see metal and numbers. Others see memories, history, and possibility. The 1991 penny welcomes them all, offering something unique to each perspective. It teaches patience, curiosity, and respect for detail. It reminds us that greatness is not always loud or obvious, and that sometimes the most powerful stories are carried by the smallest objects. So the next time a penny rests in your hand, think beyond its face value. Think about where it has been, what it has seen, and what it might still become. Because somewhere among millions, a single 1991 1-cent coin stands apart, carrying with it a story of survival, rarity, and potential that continues to inspire collectors around the world. In that tiny circle of copper and zinc lives proof that even 1 cent can be priceless.